So, what are the ways that you have been programmed to believe are ways or the only way for you to be able to get money and have money in your life? For most of us, it's probably a job. We're going to get into that in today's episode. Is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be giving you a little taste of my newest book, Tales of a Money Maven, How Religious and Other Programming Has Effed Up Your Money. But before we begin, let me introduce myself. I am Tamara Tamu. This is the Unleashed Alchemy YouTube channel, where on this platform, we talk about going against the grain, calling forth the unseen into the seen so that you can live a soul-fulfilled, enchanted life. All right, so let's get into it. And yes, money has everything to do with spirituality. Having an overflow of money is a spiritual experience. Now, you may be saying, there are plenty of people with money who are not even thinking about spirituality. Well, do you know that for sure? We don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. And yes, there are some people who don't even have any type of spiritual, loving, higher level consciousness experience. They're not interested in it, but yes, they do have a lot of money. So imagine their impact that they're having. So imagine you as a spiritualist, as a person who knows and who has the heart to live with a higher consciousness. Imagine you having an overflow of money. Imagine the positive impact that you can have with that level of consciousness, with God consciousness. We also hear it called Christ consciousness, infinite intelligence confidence, or consciousness, or in confidence. All right, that's what we deal with on this channel. So it's very fitting that we are having this conversation about money. So this episode is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be taking an entire section. It's not a full chapter, but it's an entire section from my book. I'm going to be reading it to you. All right. So think of this as you listening to a portion of an audiobook. All right. Now, there's a section or a chapter in the book where I provide you with behavioral programming links and how these links form and they influence our identity, hence influencing how we experience, in this case, money into our lives. All right. So now we're going to talk about the link called I called it the Getting Money link. And this covers all the ways that we've been programmed to believe that we have to get money. For many of us, I know I can raise my hand. The only way to get money, at least the message that I was sent growing up, is to have a job. And the ironic thing about that is that I was told to get a job by people who had businesses. All right. So that was interesting in itself. So let me read from the book. There were plenty of conversations about the traditional ways to get money, such as working a job or jobs. As a child, I watched what people did to earn money. While legal and noble, there were no talks about the inefficiency of trading time for money. I always suspected that there had to be another way, but I was drowning in the traditional trap, not lending myself to other possibilities and opportunities. So I adopted the belief that your job or any job was your supply of money. My approach to money was laced with old programming, focused on getting more of it in the traditional sense. In the past, the plan was always just to get 2 jobs, maybe 3, and work overtime. I still believed that working harder and more hours would change my financial matters because of the paradigm that ruled me, completely convincing me to work a job to get money. I did not need another job. I needed a new identity. My relationship with money was more about who I was being than about doing anything else in the physical world or doing anything in the physical world. Because that principle was foreign to me, my situation continued to be aggravated by my efforts swayed by outdated programming. Now is the perfect time to talk about the infamous workforce. The problematic construct is in the name, the workforce. And force I have in bold letters. Now more than ever, society is grappling with and questioning it. Yet most of us agree to be a part of it. Millions are unhappy because we were taught to trade time for money, ignoring whether we love our work. Right now, there is a mother who just gave birth to a child. She is unhappy with the idea of leaving her child in the hands of a stranger, aka daycare, to be away from her child for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I refuse to believe that we have to or have ever had to abide by that societal driven rule. To drive this home even more, let's break down how this confined workforce keeps spiritual, creative geniuses like yourself in a box. We know this system was created hundreds of years ago, so I will simplify the beginnings. Someone decided it would be a good idea to tell people, hey, if you want this money, you have to agree to give up 40 hours a week of your life. 40 hours. The education system followed suit to train people into thinking they had to work for money. So an education system had been established to train kids to be employees. Now, back to the time breakdown. 40 hours a week is 160 hours a month, equivalent to 2,080 hours a year. In a general calendar year, humans use it to measure time. Are 8,736 hours allotted to our lives. So I'll read that again. In a general calendar year that humans use to measure time, there are 8,736 hours allotted to our lives. So that's 2,080 hours a year of forced trading time for money, calculating to nearly 25% of a person's life every year doing something they don't like because they have been programmed to believe that they have to work a job to have, get, and keep money. And we wonder why people are angry, sick, agitated, resentful, bitter, and full of rage on the road and elsewhere. Let me add that 25% of the time, someone else is telling you when to take a break, when you can take a vacation, when you need a vacation, and when you have to work more than 40 hours a week without even asking if you are available or even if you want to. This dedication to discussing how shitty the workforce is does not downplay the idea that the work of our hands still adds to life fulfillment, but that is offering the work of our hands out of joy, passion, and essence, not from force and obligation. So, what I have gathered in my spiritual work on my spiritual Odyssey is that this hijacking of time by the workforce does not lend time for spiritual growth in its fullness. Spirituality is a personal journey from which the idea of heresy originated. People who wanted to control labeled those with independence of thought as heretics because spirituality was about a person going within themselves to tap into their power. The people who tried to prevent others felt that mindset, that knowing, would not lend to their controlling agendas, hence the creation of religious systems including the system of the workforce. Now, we have a society where people's souls and creative energy get hijacked. People are expected to work hard on a job first. It doesn't matter whether you enjoy it, and then after you work a job or jobs for so many years, only then can you be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and have what you want to have. We have been programmed to put our genius on hold, to put a cap on our pipe dreams, or just make it a side hustle. Thinking differently about money goes beyond what physical senses show you. Tapping into your genius is a spiritual experience because an aspect of your calling is integrated into your genius. Your energy needs to be free to allow that magic to be accessed and expressed, not to be lost in the confines of a soul-sucking, mind-numbing job. I want to share a story about a gentleman I met on a cruise. This young man was a waiter in one of the restaurants on the vessel. Like many crew members, he was pleasant and appeared ready to converse. He openly, to my surprise, expressed his discomfort in his job. He explained that his contract was to work with this specific cruise line for 9 months, which wasn't his first contract. Working on cruise lines with lengthy contracts had become a part of his life. He emphasized, "I don't like this at all, but this is what I must do." He appeared again to be very young, although his age didn't matter. I wanted to sit him down and tell him there was another way and that he didn't have to accept that belief. He worked on this cruise ship daily for 9 months, watching passengers with friends and family vacation and enjoying their time. I wondered if he had ever given himself the gift of imagining what his life would be like to work 9 months out of the year, doing soul-aligned work, doing work that he loved and enjoyed, not because he had to, but because he wanted to, and receive infinite money while enjoying his work. Had he even allowed himself to welcome that possibility? If only he could see that he created his reality with his words. If only that young man could see that he could experience his desired life. This man can enjoy the freedom to travel with his family on cruises whenever he wanted instead of being an observer. Had he given himself a moment to imagine how that reality would feel? Are you asking yourself these same questions? So when a person's attention is focused on a job or jobs, they become ego-driven, confined only to what their physical senses show them. They look for fulfillment outside of themselves or don't look at all. They become comfortable with being uncomfortable. They tell themselves, well, this is just what I must do. Even if I don't like it, I must pay bills. We did not come into this physical plane to work and pay bills. We are super beings placed here to experience life on a miraculous level of complete freedom and wholeness, rooted in sovereignty and wisdom. Now you may say, well, some people have to work in the stores, in the coffee shops, auto shops, gas stations, TSA, cruise ships, etc. Only some people want their own businesses. While that may be true, but everyone wants the freedom to live on their schedule and terms. This book is not about telling people to avoid employment, whether it be self or otherwise. Yet we are moving away from trading time for money. Your purpose is not to work a job you have forced yourself to do because the company has good health insurance. Let the work or your business be what you are passionate about. Let it be a job you genuinely love, not work you are forcing yourself to find good parts or good attributes in. Give yourself the gift of knowing that type of existence is possible. With that said, I invite you to be open to more freedom. What would that look like if you could do work you loved when you wanted to and not be tied to any set schedule? Let your abundant self take over. Quiet your logical mind that says that's not likely just because you haven't considered it before, or just because you haven't seen it in your community or in your life or in your family or among your friends. Your soul knows all. Your ego doesn't know shit. Maybe you don't want to look like the oddball in your family because you don't know anyone who has experienced this level of freedom. This is where you have to be willing to be the one in your family that displays what freedom looks like. When you quiet your mind, you discover your true identity. When you look within, your eyes are open to an identity that does not know lack and only knows abundance. I had been looking to get something I inherently had. Spirit taught me how to access and live from that identity, even before I physically saw the changes externally. Let's take this a step further. We don't have to work for money. Yes, you read that correctly. Yes, you heard that correctly. We can call forth money on demand. I can call forth money on demand. You can call forth money on demand. The job or business we choose to do, we don't have to do it for money. That job or business is not our money supply. What is our money supply? That internal currency of abundance that flows through our veins. Our supply is our consciousness of our soul's expansion, celestial and infinite identity. When we surrender to our spirit, that knowing becomes how we live. It becomes our operating system to view money as currency we have inherently. Money is not something we have to work to get. All right. So I wanted to share that little piece with you from the book. All right. I have enjoyed this talking about money. I know this has been part of the series. I don't know if I'm done talking about it or not. I am fully guided with this platform, with Unleashed Alchemy. I am fully guided by the infinite intelligence, great creator, my elevated guides, my elevated angels, my elevated ancestors. I'm guided. So you may hear me talk more about money. Also, I want to tell you that if you are wanting more one-on-one support on your spiritual odyssey, I offer that by offering 12 sessions. All right. So book a call with me. It is a complimentary call where we can talk to see how I can support you more in tapping into and getting reacquainted with the God self that is waiting to be unleashed. All right. So until next time, cheers.